Imagine one day you wake up and your head is detaching from your body, which brings magical power inside. This is how our story begins. In our today's story, we have Iggy and Maureen. They were in love with each other since childhood, but one night, someone cruelly murdered Maureen, and everyone believed that Iggy did it. Although Iggy was not arrested, but everyone in the city hated him, and 15-20 reporters would stand outside his house all the time so that Iggy could give them his statement. To avoid these reporters, Iggy often went to his parents' house to seek peace. His family tried everything possible to keep him out of jail, but the truth was that they also believed that Iggy was the real killer of Maureen. But Iggy's elder brother Tariq convinced him that he stands by his side at every step. After this, Iggy met his best friend Lee. He was the only person who had full faith that Iggy is innocent. Lee was a lawyer and he had been saving Iggy from jail till now. But after a while, Iggy learned that the forensic lab, where Maureen's body was kept, it caught fire, and all the evidence turned to ashes. Now it became even more difficult for Iggy to prove his innocence. And now the police had a testimony of an anonymous person. He had seen her being taken away in a car, dragging Maureen's body. Hearing this news, Iggy became more disturbed. After that, he went to a pub where his friend Glenna worked. Glenna had been interested in Iggy for a long time, but Iggy didn't show any interest except for Maureen. Well, after Maureen's death, Glenna tried to get closer to him, but Iggy still had no interest in her. Then, in the evening, Maureen's father and his friends arrived at the place where she died and paid their respects with flowers and candles. At that time, Iggy was hiding in a treehouse drinking whiskey. He knew that he couldn't pay his respects to Maureen like everyone else, because Maureen's father also saw him as responsible for his daughter's death. Anyway, after everyone left, Iggy got angry and started breaking the statues there. That's when Glenna came and stopped him. Emotionally, Iggy explained that Maureen used to go to church every Sunday and wore a cross around her neck, but still she was killed mercilessly, and God did nothing to save her. Iggy was always angry with God because of this. He was very sad. So Glenna hugged him and calmed him down, and then they spent the night together. The next morning, when Iggy opened his eyes, he saw in the mirror that horns had started growing on his forehead. He asked Glenna if she could see the horns on his head, but to his surprise, Glenna revealed all her secrets to him. She started telling and then ate a box full of donuts like animals. Iggy realized that it was not a dream, so she went to see a doctor for treatment. She filled out a form at the reception, but suddenly, a child started throwing her toys around, and her mother couldn't calm her down. Iggy said to her suddenly that she felt like leaving her here. Gaji couldn't understand why she was telling her this if she still wanted to leave. Nervously, she went to the reception, where the receptionist told her to take her daughter out because everyone was getting annoyed by her noise. That's when the little girl went to Iggy and said that she hated her mother. Anyway, Iggy later arrived in the doctor's room, where the nurse started telling her that her boyfriend was cheating on her. Iggy couldn't understand why the people around her were telling her all their secrets. Well, then the doctor came and said that she would have to undergo surgery. Before the operation, Iggy was put to sleep, and in her unconscious state, she remembered the day when she first saw Maureen at the church. Before leaving that day, Iggy found her necklace in Maureen's place, where she had forgotten it. The excuse of returning the necklace led to a conversation between the two, and they became good friends. And then, Iggy showed Maureen a tree house in the middle of the jungle. Since that day, this place became special for both. When Iggy opened his eyes and saw that the blade was stuck in his head and the doctor and nurse were making their rounds, he panicked and immediately left there, went straight to the church, and asked Father Mold for help. But Father was shocked to see him and said that God was punishing him for his sins, and there was no way to escape. Iggy didn't understand anything, so he went to Lee's place. But then he realized that Lee couldn't see his horn. Well, good people don't see this horn anyway. He went to his parents' house and met his mother. Now his mother also started revealing her secrets like other people. She said that she was tired of hearing Iggy's troubles, and to be honest, she didn't even want to see him. When Iggy found out that his mother had so much trouble with him, he started to go outside, but then his father came. His father said that he hated Iggy because what he did with Maureen was no less than a sin. Anyway, no matter what Iggy is, he is their son, so in order to save him from jail, his father set fire to the laboratory. Now Iggy understood that he has the power to know anyone's secrets. With the help of his powers, he decided to find the real killer of Maureen, so that he could confess his sin in front of everyone. He immediately got into his car and headed towards that pub, set off so that he could find a clue in. But as usual, this time too, many reporters surrounded him. When asked to give his statement, he said only one thing: guys should compete against each other. Why don't you decide to have a dazzling interview with men as soon as reporters attacked each other? During this period, Iggy quietly sneaked into the pub. He wanted to know which person has handed in false testimony to the police and talking to the people there. He also got his answer, and he returned to his car where he saw the engagement ring, which he was going to give Maureen the night she was murdered. Only Lee knew about the surprise, and according to the plan, after Maureen's yes, He came to celebrate with Jashna in the pub, but that night when Iggy met Marine, she said Shen was going to Los Angeles, and now she can't stay with him. That moment, a waitress came to take her order, but when she saw they were talking something important, she decided to come back later. Now, in the argument between Iggy and Marine, and Iggy started to think that Marine has fallen in love with someone else, and that's why she's breaking up the relationship. But Marine left without saying anything, and in a fit of anger, Iggy left too. When Iggy came out, Terry was also there, but Iggy was in a rage, and he left in his car. I sat down and quickly left from there, driving for a while. After driving for a while, I stopped at a calm place and fell asleep in the car. The next morning, the police found him and asked him when he last saw Marine. Hearing this, Iggy got scared and asked him what happened to Marine. But after that, Iggy became the suspect of this crime. Anyway, Iggy went to the same restaurant to meet that witness where he was going to propose to Marine. He asked Veronica, the waiter, why she lied to the police about seeing him drag Marine into the car. Upon hearing this, Veronica said that she gave false testimony so that she could become famous and the media would start paying attention to her. After knowing the truth, Iggy went to a restaurant where his brother Terry worked in a band. After the show ended, he called Terry and told him that he found the witness who gave false testimony to the police. Now, Iggy asked Terry to go to the police station and give a statement because Terry was also present there that night and saw Iggy going alone in the car. But then, Terry made a revelation and said that he gave a ride to Marine that night. Upon hearing this, Iggy got filled with anger and started beating Terry, but then Terry told him the truth because of the power of the lions, that he had given a ride to Marine to drop her home that night, but Marine got out of the car in the middle of the road. Terry called her back. Marine tried, but Terry said that she wants to go to the treehouse. Now Terry decided to stay there and wait for her, but he was drunk and soon fell asleep. When he woke up the next morning, he saw a blood-stained stone in his hand. Worried, he rushed into the forest to find Marine. Suddenly, he saw Marine's body near a tree. He was very scared, but he didn't call the police because he suspected they would think he did it. He immediately destroyed all the evidence and didn't tell anyone about the incident. When Iggy was beating Terry, the police arrived and arrested him. Anyway, Iggy managed to get him bail again. Later, when they were talking, Iggy saw that Lee was wearing Marine's cross necklace. Iggy realized that it was Lee who Marine had fallen in love with, and because of her, Marine left him. Since then, Iggy felt a great shock and went straight to Marine's father's house. He asked Marine's father, Del, if Marine ever said anything about falling in love with someone else. But Del was very angry at Iggy and told him to leave the house immediately. Just like everyone else in the city, Del also thought that Iggy was Marine's killer. But Iggy didn't have the courage to punish himself with his own hands, so he didn't do anything.